All right, let's talk about serotonin. We all think we know what it is, right? It's the happy chemical. It's the little molecule in our brain that controls our mood. But what if I told you that's not even close to the whole story? What if the real story of serotonin is way bigger, and I mean way older than the human brain itself?
Yeah, this is the story we always hear. You see it in headlines, you hear it all the time. A simple chemical for a simple feeling. But science is almost never that simple. And that's exactly where our real story kicks off. We're going to peel back all the modern ideas about this famous molecule and get to a history that doesn't start with feelings or brains, but with the very first hints of life on our planet. To really get what serotonin is doing for us right now, we have to go back in time. And I don't just mean a few thousand years. I mean billions of years, long before the first neuron ever even thought about firing.
Just look at this timeline. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? We're talking about a 3 billion-year journey. Serotonin's story actually starts with the earliest forms of life, where its special structure was just perfect for grabbing sunlight and turning it into energy. Then plants figured out it was great for regulating their own growth. It was only way, way later that animals repurposed it for their nerves, and eventually it became the master regulator we see in our own brains today. So, here's the most important thing to get. Neurotransmitters existed before nervous systems. Serotonin's first job had nothing to do with sending signals between these gorgeous, complicated cells. Nope. Its original gig was way more basic, managing energy and protecting cells from damage. It's a survival tool that life has been using, basically forever. And if you need proof, check this out. A single banana peel has about 100 times more serotonin per gram than a rat's brain. Now, why on earth would that be? Well, because in plants, serotonin is this powerhouse antioxidant and a key player in growth. It's a relic of ancient biology, not just some chemical that makes us feel good. Okay, so if its first job wasn't in the brain, how did it end up there? Well, as animals got more complex, this ancient molecule got a promotion. Its new job? Organizing behavior. And the way it did that job changed, dramatically over time. So let's start with super simple animals, like a sea slug. Here, you get what you could call an autocratic system. There are just a few serotonin cells, and they act like little dictators, just barking out orders to the entire body. Move, eat, hide. It's not subtle, but hey, it works. Now, let's move up the ladder to something like a mouse. The system evolves. It's less of a dictatorship and more like a committee. You've got a bigger group of neurons all working together. They use this strategy called general invasion, which is basically just flooding the brain with serotonin to influence big picture stuff, like being awake or asleep. It's a group effort, not super targeted, but much more coordinated. And that brings us to the primate brain. Here, the system becomes this really sophisticated collaborator. The neurons are grouped together differently, and their signals are way more specific. Instead of flooding the whole brain, they can deliver these little selective strikes for incredibly fine-tuned regulation. From a dictator to a committee to a collaborator, what an amazing evolutionary story, right? And that journey finally brings us home, to the human brain, where serotonin takes on its most critical role yet. And it's not about creating happiness. It's about something much, much more fundamental: creating stability. The scientific term for this is homeostasis. Honestly, homeostasis is probably the most important job of any living thing. It's this constant, non-stop effort to keep everything in balance. Your temperature, your blood pressure, and, as we're about to see, the actual structure and function of your brain. It's all about finding that perfect, dynamic balance. Just look at this diagram for a second. The serotonin neurons are sitting right there in the middle of everything, with connections reaching out to basically every part of the brain. They're the link between our emotions, our hormones, our movements, and what we see and hear. It's like they're the brain's air traffic controller, making sure all these different systems work together to keep that all-important balance. But here's where it gets really interesting. The guy who came up with the term homeostasis also said this, and it sounds like a paradox, right? Instability is necessary for stability? What does that even mean? Well, it means that real stability isn't about being rigid and unchanging. It's about being able to adapt. Your brain has to constantly rewire itself based on new experiences. That's called neuroplasticity. Serotonin is the one managing this controlled chaos, making sure the brain can change without completely falling apart. So how does it actually do this? Well, it's a really cool little partnership. Serotonin first activates the brain's support crew, these cells called glia. The glia then release a special protein, S100B. You can think of S100B as the brain's construction foreman. Its job is to reinforce the physical structure of your neurons, helping them stay strong while they adapt and change. It's this process that lets our brain be both stable and flexible at the same time. So, if serotonin is the master of brain stability, what happens when that stability is lost? Well, this is where the story gets very personal and connects directly to our health. When the serotonin system starts to fail, the brain loses its ability to keep that balance. And the results, they're staggering. We're not just talking about depression and anxiety anymore. A breakdown in this ancient system is now being linked to a whole range of devastating neurological diseases, from Parkinson's all the way to Alzheimer's. When the brain stability is gone, the whole structure starts to weaken. And this quote from the research really drives that point home. It's telling us that having a history of major depression, which is a classic sign that the serotonin system isn't regulated properly, is now considered a major risk factor for developing dementia later in life. Losing stability isn't just a temporary problem. It can have permanent, destructive consequences for the brain. So this all forces us to ask a totally new question. We started out asking if serotonin was the happy chemical, but maybe that was the wrong question from the very beginning. Maybe the real key to our mental health and even our long-term brain health isn't about chasing a fleeting feeling of happiness. Maybe it's about nurturing the deep biological stability that this incredible ancient molecule has been providing to life on Earth for more than 3 billion years.